Okay, so as you guys just heard, the City Council approved a resolution that resolves the legal dispute between the city and the Co-CDC and Hirschfeld Industries. And so we have representatives from each of those entities here just to issue a brief statement, and then they'll be happy to answer your questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Councilwoman Elizabeth Grindstaff.
We want to let you know, as Anthony said, that we reached a solution today to a disagreement that has been going on for quite some time between Jacob representing Hirschfeld, Tommy Hebert representing the Co-CDC, and myself representing the City of San Angelo. We're very pleased to tell you that this agreement was reached earlier this week, and we believe that it's a win-win-win for the citizens of San Angelo, for our industrial community, and for the entities mentioned. I think you have a press release that gives you the details of the agreement, and we can speak to you about those. There are a number of performance issues, as well as $1.4 million in cash that will be paid back to the citizens. With that, we'll let you answer or ask any questions that you may have. Several weeks. The sum of money is due upon this agreement being reached, and that was ratified today. And then there are some other performance requirements in there, and I believe you have those deadlines. The legal work has been going on for some time. But in the end, I think we all realized that if there was any other conversation that could take place directly between the city, Co-CDC, and Hirschfeld, that it was worth one last attempt before we headed to the courthouse. And everybody came to the table with the idea that, with open minds, and the idea that perhaps a solution could be reached that was good for everyone, but in particular for the citizens of our community. And so I think with open minds and a last chance, that's what we did. I expect the citizens to understand that the agreement that has been reached is in their interest, in the sense of we have over 400 employees at Hirschfeld throughout the community that have families here, own homes, rent property, buy gas, buy groceries. Their children are in school, and we would not want to jeopardize that. As you know, the company is across the nation, and we wanted to make sure that that company stayed in San Angelo as a legacy industry here, and that if they were going to grow and prosper, that they did it in San Angelo, Texas.
Yes, on behalf of Hirschfeld, again, we're glad we've gotten to this point of resolution. This allows us to focus on the business and allows us to partner with the City of San Angelo and the Co-CDC to increase jobs and provide economic development for San Angelo. So as Ms. Grindstaff said, the economic value that Hirschfeld provides currently, with the potential of increasing manufacturing jobs here in San Angelo, is extremely valuable to the city of San Angelo. So we look forward to moving forward and hopefully continuing developing locally. Again, the value of having and creating jobs here locally, of course, with any business, every time you're able to create a job with the hopes of providing impacts for the business as well, positive impacts for the business as well, is something that every business strives for. So increasing that employment base is good for Hirschfeld as well as good for the local economy.
Yeah, let me say the Development Corporation strives to create jobs and help the companies that are located here to create jobs. to increase our tax base. Ultimately, that has impact on all of our citizens. So we believe that going forward that the resolution that we reached does those things. We believe that the 1.4 million recoups just the majority of what, in fact, we paid out. They no doubt created jobs under the original agreement, which we benefited from and still do benefit from. So that's how we came to the agreement of the 1.4 million. That is something that we should get back, and we did, and we appreciate them agreeing with us on that point.
Yes, it was to get into that side of the business, I'm not sure if it's in details would get complicated here. It was a joint partnership with Martifer and Hirschfeld. That entity with Martifer and Hirschfeld no longer exists, so Hirschfeld is now taking on the responsibility of moving forward.
So Hirschfeld's taking responsibility for.
Yes.
And so Martifer is no longer.
No.
I think if you want to look back at the contracts, you'll see that there were certain performance standards that weren't met to the letter of the contract. However, going forward, I think we see that in order to preserve a company here and help them grow, that essentially an arrangement that allowed them more time to do that was necessary. And so, there is some payback of cash, and then yet there is incentive for future jobs to be created in San Angelo and us not lose an industry. So we had to really weigh the issues at hand and did so, as you can imagine, with a lot of thought. And we believe that this is in the best interest of everyone. There is again, cash back, there are new performance standards, but all of that with the idea that this is a company that is poised to grow, and we want them to grow here. Between the COSA-DC and the city, we also have an interest in job retention. And as Tommy said, there were jobs created, it just didn't hit the mark. So we had a decision to make, and essentially the arrangement allows for new jobs and new performance incentives.
The number of jobs is something that I would say was part of our settlement negotiations and our discussions. It will be a net increase in jobs. It will also allow something that we really haven't talked about, the potential of new capital investment at some point in time, which is always a good thing for any community because that helps our tax base. So, we look forward as Hirschfeld works through its business plans. If they choose to create some additional capital investment, we all win from that.
It'll be time, and also going through the permitting process, working with all the engineering involved. So that's why we have that reasonably efforts included in the statement there.
So as long as they go through that process of trying to.
Go ahead, Tommy.
It's also a time factor. The commercially reasonable attempt is in 12 months. It must be completed within 24. So we have some time parameters on there. We didn't want to make it so restrictive in that first 12 months that they couldn't meet that. So the 2-year period, both sides felt like was a reasonable amount of time to complete that. I don't think it's appropriate at this point to talk about, existing agreements. That's not part of what we're here to talk about. But hopefully, as we move forward, we all can agree that if we have an agreement, that those agreements must be met. So I don't think it signals anything about anything other than this one agreement. So we try our best to evaluate each agreement, on its own merit.
About the COCDC that you can take from this issue or from the city council. In the end, there were agreements that were signed, and there were expectations that we were, hoped would be met. For those of us on the city side, we have to be stewards of the public dollars. But in the end, what you're doing is you're using, these half-cent sales tax funds to try to incentivize, grow business, grow industry, create jobs in your community, and raise the quality of life for your citizens. And so we've achieved that, and we will continue to try to achieve that through other projects, but we don't need to be specific about any of them. We have a number of different incentives that are out right now that are performance-based.
We do a performance audit all the time on our agreements. We have performance audits annually on all of our agreements. So if they are not performing, then we have a conversation with them. So, that's not something new. A performance audit is not anything new. So there is oversight taking place on all economic development agreements.
Thank you all very much.
Thank y'all.